Hello, and welcome to the C12 Mid Atlantic Lunch and Learn on Business Ministry. Today we're going to hear from 4 C12 members who have active ministry programs in their business, and we're going to learn what they do and how they got started, what kind of impact they're having, and learn just what's going on, maybe some answers to questions that you have. My name is Skip Carney. I'm a C12 member since 2012, and we're coming to you live today from our Carney Co. Studios in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming. Craig gets the prize for coming the furthest, 2.5 hours away. Craig Rohde is from Architectural Graphics in Virginia Beach. Beside him is Luke Mangum. Luke is from Mangum's in Wilson, North Carolina. They're headquartered. Everybody else is fairly close around here. Danny Jackson came up from Dudley, North Carolina. Yes. You really live in Dudley?
Close.
Yeah, close.
Indian Springs. Actually.
Oh, well, there you go. Suburb.
Yes.
Suburban Dudley. And Gary Hinton is from NC Sound in Goldsboro. So, gentlemen, let's start a little bit about your organization, who you serve, how many employees you have, just a little bit of background. Luke, we'll start with you.
Sure, thank you. I'm with Mangum's Incorporated. We're a family of companies now. We've been in business since 1969.
Wow.
Currently, together, we have about 180 employees, and we serve the transportation industry. We serve them through maintenance and repair, emergency road service, and also specialized transportation.
And you've got offices all over the place, right?
We do. We have 7 different locations. We span from the other side of Gastonia into South Carolina, Blacksburg, South Carolina, and we all the way up towards Chesapeake, Virginia, in the Camden County, South Mills area of North Carolina, and then, of course, up and down the I-95 corridor.
Okay, cool. Craig, Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach, AGI. So we're about 380 million, about 1,100 employees. We have offices around the country. The biggest corporate headquarters offices are in Virginia Beach with about 500. But then we're in Clearwater, Atlanta, Knoxville, Tennessee, Dallas, and Los Angeles, where we also have offices. So the easiest way to describe us, we do have 5 divisions, but we provide all the products installed, maintained for big, large retailers at the point at which the consumer and the brand intersects. That could be signs, ATM surrounds, menu boards, building fascias, electrical lighting services, interiors, the whole thing.
Wow. That sounds cool. Okay, Danny.
Okay, so Jackson and Sons was started in 1974 by my father, my mother, and my 2 brothers and I. We met, sat around the kitchen table and decided that we were going to go in business my dad was going to start his own business because he'd just been let go from his previous business. We provide heating and air conditioning services to anyone who has a home, business, church, or any need for indoor comfort. We have 60 employees. We've recently have joined a larger network of heating and air conditioning and service providers, including plumbing and electrical, called Near You.
Okay.
And but Jackson and Sons is located in eastern North Carolina. We provide those services throughout the eastern part of North Carolina, basically from Raleigh to the coast. We have that's Jackson and Sons.
Okay, cool. Gary Hinton, NC Sound.
Hey, Skip. Thanks for having me here today.
Glad to have you.
So, North Carolina Sound started in 1988 as a sound company, primarily for just background music, Muzak in malls and places. And early 90s, we got into the educational world, and we started expanding our capacities. So we're a full systems integrator. We do everything low voltage. We do AV presentations, football stadium sound systems, network cabling, telephony, physical security for schools and campuses, such as door access control and cameras and those kind of things. We have currently 72 employees. We have 3 offices. We got one in Wilmington, North Carolina. We got one in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and our home office is there in Goldsboro. And so we have, been going at it for quite steady for some time. We focus on the public sector and basically keeping students and people up to date with technology and safety.
Cool. All right, so let's now talk about your ministry. And we'll start with you, Gary, and come around this way. How did you get started? What do you do? Just a high level. what does your ministry program look like?
It really didn't gain traction until I joined C12. I joined C12 in 2018. And so that's whenever I realized that all of God's work up until then was leading me to a point where people could guide me to be intentional about ministry. So it started really gaining traction as far as we're intentional about ministry in 2018. And it's all the normal things that C12 would guide you into doing, and loving on your people, making them a priority, that people's, spiritual and mental and physical health is important, gaining traction with a corporate chaplain, just putting line items on the budget that we could put towards ministry needs. It's just kind of how it's evolved, and we've became more intentional over the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Just
When we talked on the phone, you said the thing that stuck with me is you said, we love on people.
yes.
That's what we do. It's all about that.
Yep. So when I got to C12, we were reflecting on why are we successful at what we do, and you need a mission statement. And I kept reading everybody else's mission statement, and they were hollow, or they were financial driven, and I said none of that reflects who we are or why we're successful. And it got down to our mission statement becoming, we're here to develop a relationship with the people we work with. And then that's going to develop into a relationship with the people we do work for, and that's going to develop into a relationship with the vendors we buy these products from. So we focus on loving on those individuals and being genuine and committed to those individuals, and everything else has just flourished from that.
Sweet. Danny, talk about your ministry program.
Well, we really got started with ministry after my joining C12 in 2010. Got a postcard in the mail prior to that, and it was a direct mailer from C12. And I looked at the postcard, set it aside, and went on about my daily business. Well, most of the time through life in business, you're busy, and your postcards come, direct mail postcards come, and they always end up in the trash. Well, this postcard kept ending up on top of my desk. And so finally I said, you know what? Maybe I need to go to this, introductory meeting. I went. Buck was there. Robert was there. I was really intrigued because I grew up in a Christian family. When I was a kid, I used to say, I had a drug problem because Mom and Dad drugged me to church every Sunday.
Right.
And, but anyway, I went to the first meeting. I joined C12, and I realized that God wanted all of me every day, and not just on church on Sundays, but also in the business. And I realized also that it was okay to talk about God and Jesus in our business. And that principle had I'd never seen that before. And it was just, so we embraced it, and I started going to the C12 meetings, and little by little, first thing was a corporate chaplain. I committed that we were going to do that. We were a small company at the time. The entry fee was kind of steep for us, but my brother and we talked about it. We were partners. We agreed, and that's when things really started with our people understanding what it was, that about God. And then as things moved on, our corporate chaplain, we were so blessed with such a great guy to start with, and really started some dialogue. And then the whole philosophy in our business changed. Previously, we had what we call, when we have something going on in our company, we have to answer it the 3 C's. Is it good for the customer? Is it good for the company? Is it good for the coworkers? Well, as that evolved now, is it good for the coworker? Okay? Is it good for the customer? It will be good for the company.
Yeah.
So, loving on the customers, as you were saying before, our coworkers really makes a difference, because when you love on those coworkers, guess what? They love on your customers. And we are in the customer service business. We go in people's homes every day because they're uncomfortable, okay? from a temperature standpoint most of the time. But a lot of times our coworkers find out that they may be uncomfortable from an emotional standpoint too. So by us pouring into our coworkers, they have the ability to be able to have the compassion to pour into our customers too. And we get these 5-star reviews on our coworkers, and a lot of time there's a lot more to it than just fixing the air conditioner. It's the way that they presented themselves and the care and the genuine respect that they have for our coworkers.
Cool. I want to come back to you in a little bit about how you do, if you do, have your folks share the gospel with your customers.
Yes.
Because something tells me that there's an opportunity for you to do that you probably do. Craig, you've got a big company, lots of people. You can't love on them one-on-one so much.
No, no.
How do you implement ministry in your business?
Well, we have a very formal ministry structure. We actually have 5 full-time people. We actually have 4 ordained chaplains in the business that all have their masters in divinity.
Wow.
So we have, Bible studies with about 150 people in it. We have daily devotions that go out. We provide counseling through Christian counseling services for all our employees, their children. We give back to the community through about 8,000 hours of organized work back with Mercy and Justice and faith-based charities. With those 5 individuals, there's a lot of one-on-one relationship, both with them and their families. So we found ourselves at times marrying people, unfortunately burying people. As you can imagine, 85% of our employee base is not church-based or Christian-based. So it's people that when they run into life's tragedies, they have all sorts of issues. So it's very established and very effective.
That's cool. Have you found that if 85% of your folks are not connected to a church, or and have you found that when they have problems, they know where to go to your folks? I guess you have internal corporate chaplains.
Yes, yeah, they do. I think we do a nice job. That our chaplaincy corps has personal relationships with a lot of people. The remote offices is always a challenge, and we're trying to staff versus using part-time chaplains at times from a local church to come in if we have a small factory like in Atlanta, Georgia, with about 60 people. But I think everyone knows we have this established ministry, and we care about them. And that our real purpose, we always tell them, is we want to love our neighbor as ourselves, and there's no better neighbor than the people you work with.
Yeah.
So,
any resistance from any of your folks about anybody have a problem with it?
obviously you'll get the comment here and there about the Bible study that's blasting the Christian music at lunch, which I don't quite get the combination of a Bible study and blasting Christian music.
Yeah.
But no, everybody's very embracing.
Yeah.
And it's because I think the care for them and their families, very much their families and children, is genuine. And I think that makes a difference, the genuineness of it.
Yeah, when it's real, it's hard to complain about that. Luke, tell us about your program.
So we actually joined C12 in 2016.
Oh.
But not until 2022 did we actually fully embrace a ministry team. We've always had some form of ministry going on, but to focus on a ministry team, we felt like it was the time, and the Lord had blessed us with the resources of people who also shared how our core family believes in Christ. And so we were empowered to put together a team, and we have about 6 folks that they do different jobs throughout the company or companies, and they all volunteer to be a part of this ministry team, and focus more on the individual employees. We talk about assets. We've got a lot of assets. The most important asset is our people, and we only have so many times to impact those people, and so we really wanted to focus on different things, and instead of having little parties every now and then and just kind of surface level, we really focused on doing special events that did incorporate ministry to our employees, and we're getting better with time. And C12 has helped us come up with so many ideas. I mean, most of the ideas we do, we've basically stolen them from other C12 companies.
That's a good problem.
You know, and it's a good thing,
idea.
and I think everybody's willing to share
yeah.
their ideas, and we're all better together anyway. And so we realize that we are the new church, our businesses. A lot of people are not going to churches, and they're not getting involved. And then our business is unique, so we work 24 hours, 7 days a week. We never close. And that's a work-life balance issue. We realize that. But when we have an opportunity, not just with our employees, but to talk with people on the phone and go out to help them in their time of need, we're there for them. And that's the same thing we feel like Christ. You know, Christ is there for us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we need him, he is there. All you have to do is call on him. And we want to emulate that same type of response with our employees, and that we also give to our customers. And so, you know, it's a passion that we all really share. None of this that we do, it's not about the money that these companies are generating. It's about the lives we're impacting. You can go anywhere in life and make money. You know, we all have to survive. But when you get ready to retire and hang up your tool belt, and you can look back and know that you were part of a company that didn't just make money, but actually impacted people's lives and built a legacy that you can be proud of, and you can be responsible to your maker one day. That's the type of atmosphere we want to build with, and through our ministry team, that's what we're doing.
Cool. Well, yeah, the C12 is made up of all types of companies, as y'all know, from tiny companies to gigantic companies. In our group, we've had members who were just one person or two, and also at the other end we have a member that has 9,000 employees. So you guys all have, you know, some fairly structured, committed programs. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how do you just get started, you know, for those who haven't started, but they've heard about it. Yeah, if you've been in C12 for very long, they've heard about it some. So how did you just get it off the ground? You know, what was the first step? Because, you know, even with 1,100 people, there was a first step, and I bet there was some conversation about, are we really going to do this? Because there's cost, there's time, there's money, there's resources that ultimately have to go no matter what size company you are. But I think there's, I think we'll talk about more later, there's some tremendous benefit that comes from this too. So how do you just get started? Who wants to go first? Gary?
Okay. So for me, it started with prayer.
Yeah.
You know, Lord, I think you put me here for such a time as this. You've certainly changed my heart and who I am. I see people within my organization that are dealing with situations, and how do I change their heart? How do I get the confidence to walk different, be different, speak different? And ultimately, for us, the real starting point was implementing corporate chaplains. Because what that is that's an easy lift. It's an easy financial lift. It's scalable. It's based on the size of your organization. And you have an immediate resource that has the knowledge and the ability to deal with situations that we're not equipped to deal with. And so the corporate chaplain, originally I said, well, we'll bring him in. He'll help our people. And my time with him, my time saying, how do I get the courage to lead this group? How do I deal with these situations? It was like having biblical counsel on staff. And so that was the easiest way for us to, if I look back to the beginnings of us getting started, and you know, I had pushback. I had pushback from other people within my organization that felt like, why are we doing this? I don't know if this is going to be impactful. I'm not really feeling this. But you know, they give you statistics, and numbers don't lie. And so looking at our statistics, when they come in, there's only a few that I go right to. And it's the one, how many times have my employees reached out to you? And how many have made a life commitment?
Yeah.
So we've had 960 times over 4 years that my employees have reached out to them That's every 1.5 days. Somebody has contacted or reached out to our chaplaincy program, and we've brought 17 people to Christ.
Wow.
So whether it ever come to my office individually, which it did, to know that you can just employ something like that and provide that opportunity for employees. I see it when we hire people. We go through these benefits that we have, and that is my top listed benefit, and it's the one I talk about the most. Yeah, we got 401k, but let me tell you about the chaplaincy program.
Yeah.
Because everybody's dealing with something. Everybody.
I think that's a really big point. And you don't see that they're dealing with something. This past Sunday, our pastor, it was prayer time at the end of the service, and he said, if you have need for prayer, come on down. And he said, y'all need to understand that there's no need to be embarrassed. There's that if you've got a problem, it doesn't matter what it is. He says, I've had a terrible week. I'm going down to get prayer right now.
Yeah.
And I think that having a chaplain and a resource available to your people and showing them that, yes, Gary, you meet with your corporate chaplain. You pray with him. I think those are the kind of things that kind of open the door for people to say, well, I'm dealing with stuff too. Maybe I should talk to this guy.
Well, and there was a trickle effect, and they're experts at implementing themselves into your organization, but they show you how you can do better. And I've been to Jackson and Sons Tuesday morning meeting. It's impressive. I've watched what they've done, and so we have a weekly pulse call. He's at our weekly pulse call. We start our pulse call with prayer request. He leads us in prayer before we start our week. But here's the other thing I want to say about the chaplaincy program and getting started is, as the leaders or as the owners, we're looked at to be the strong, the visionary, the we got it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we talk to? Who do we show our vulnerabilities and weakness to? If we're smart at the C12 table, that's our opportunity, right? If you can drop your pride and you can sit in front of that group and go, hey, we're struggling, I'm struggling. And so having him as a resource for me has been beneficial as well. So I started going to church so that my 6-month-old kid would be involved in church, and church became more about me than what I was trying to do with him. And I started chaplaincy for my employees and realized that it was just as much about my professional development and growth in Christ. So
that's kind of cool. So Danny, how'd you get started? And tell us about this Tuesday morning thing.
Okay, well, with us, it started with prayer
Okay.
as well, but a little different.
There's a theme.
After going to my first C12 meeting, I decided that we needed to pray at work. So I started praying when I met with my leadership team. And the first meeting that we met following my first C12 meeting, got my leadership team up in the conference room. I said, okay, guys, we're going to do something a little different. I know it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to pray first. And we started praying that day on that meeting. And then we gradually pray now before every meeting in the company, regardless of whether it's a full team meeting on our Tuesday mornings, or leadership meeting, or managers meeting, or dispatch meeting. Always open with prayer. So ours started with prayer as well.
And the Tuesday morning thing that you do?
Okay, so on Tuesday, we started that back in the year 2002, I guess. And, well, no, it's probably back further than that, probably 1992.
Whoa.
Yes. And we bring everybody in for a Tuesday morning meeting. Tuesdays for us was the day, Mondays you're catching up from the weekend, and it just seemed to be, so we brought everybody in half hour early and have a meeting. And it's a feel-good meeting. It's a positive meeting. And so during that time, our corporate chaplain is there. We start that meeting every morning with prayer, and then we have a cheer that we do. And then we share the good news from our customers, basically our 5-star reviews, and elevate some of our coworkers that's received those 5-star reviews. Mm. And then the really neat piece that I think is we have what we call a culture card. And the culture card is a card that is passed around weekly from coworker to coworker. And when you have the culture card, you have the opportunity to share with the rest of the team on Tuesday morning how you have seen an example of Jackson Sons culture in the previous week, or either something that you've seen during the previous week or recently that attributes and reminds you of our culture. And the card's paid forward, so you will get it today, knowing that you've got a week to prepare for it on the following Tuesday morning.
Okay.
And the experiences that our coworkers share and what they talk about and choose to talk about on the culture card is just amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, depending on where they are with their walk with God, you know, it may be very religious or it may be just feel good stories, you know.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see those people share those experiences, and it just helps with our family atmosphere at Jackson.
That's neat. So everybody's involved. And
Yes.
do people ask to get the card sometimes?
No, it's it's something, and we have a little fun with it, you know, because it's almost like nobody wants the card, and you know, but everybody, once it's their turn and they have shared, they feel good about what they've talked about, and we always reinforce them and always thank them for sharing. So it's fun. It's a little anxiety associated with it. It brings the card holder out of their comfort zone for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's a great
Yeah.
thing for us.
Well, and it gets them thinking about what is our culture and
Yes.
looking for opportunities.
Yes.
You know, we often in life and work, things happen and we don't necessarily connect what that was or pay attention to it. But if you've got people that are actively thinking about, oh, that's a story I could tell, you know, and maybe they pass it on to their friend who has the card, or maybe they get the card. But yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay, Craig, how did you get started on a program that now has 3 full-time people that are dedicated to just ministry?
5 full-time.
5. Oh,
but
that-
a little clarification.
Sorry, it grew since
um,
my memory.
If you go back to AGI and quote when the ministry started, a little clarification is the founders of the business were believers, and they had a ministry. Basically, it was financial support, prayer, and tithe.
Oh,
And in 2006, when I joined the firm as they were retiring and wanted to pass on the business, the gentleman, his name is Dave Ramsey. He's not the Dave Ramsey that we all know. He said he wanted to pass the business on to a believer because he had given the business over to the Lord. And I joined, and it was really the first time in ownership of a business. It was like, oh, wow, this is the Lord's business, and what am I going to do about it? So there was the foundation of a ministry there already, which was Life on Life. But as we were about 150 people and about 30 million of size at that time, and we continued doing the same thing. But as I prayed about it and thought about it, I really went to the parable of the talents, and I said, you know, this is a talent, not as in a skill, but the talent of where God has put me in life. To be able to have the blessing of having the fiduciary responsibility of this business and the opportunity to have influence on, you know, what is now 1,000 families. And you know, what are you going to do with that talent kind of thing? And so it really put the burden, I think, on the investment. And as the business accelerated from 150 people to 1,100, pretty quickly it became apparent that, you know, you're not going to get the consistency through your management team, and we don't. The management team's not made up of believers; it's a mix, and so it made it quite obvious that we needed to formalize the ministry, and that's where we went out and said we're going to hire a full-time chaplain, and I believe I wanted to bring in somebody who was very educated. in the Word, and that's why we decided to go to someone who has been through seminary and actually through the ordination process, and that's how we started.
Oh, so you used the parable of the talents as a challenge, and a responsibility.
You want to finish strong in life, and when you're given the talent, you can do different things with it. You can bury it, or you can invest it. And the motivation, the inspiration was to invest it.
And so the ministry followed along with that challenge and that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so the first three things that the company was founded on, the ministry program,
Tithing, financial support, especially when you deal with factory situations or wherever it might be, it's a different set of people with different challenges. So there's always financial needs and prayer.
Sure.
Those were the original three.
Okay, cool. So Luke, how'd y'all get started? You told us a little bit about it at the beginning, but yeah, go a little
Sure.
deeper.
I mean, really, if you're a company out there wanting to do something, feeling like the Lord's leading you to do something, you can throw everything in, the kitchen sink in, and go after it, like some people are, very boldly. But you don't have to. Start small, and pray about it, and the Lord will bless it. To know exactly what we started doing, to be honest with you, I can't tell you. I was not around in '69 when my father started, but we've always cared about our people because we as owners and working owners, we work right beside of them. While the other gentlemen around the table were talking, I was just thinking of different things that in the last 25 years I've been around, that I've done or been a part of. As far as that is, praying with our drivers before we take off with a extremely large load down the road, and how we want to do that. And I was doing it not to show them how to do it. I was doing it because I wanted the Lord to be with me. All right. But I have noticed that some of the drivers will do it now because they realize they too want the Lord to be with them, and it's okay. So being that example is very important. And we do some of these same things, prayer before our meetings. The world is going to go against you, and they're going to challenge you to be worldly. And it's our responsibilities to stop that and be bold. And so we want a company that honors God. We won't shun anyone who doesn't participate, but we're still going to stand up and do what's right. But you can do little things in the beginning. Birthday cards, simple. They'll never want to know what you know until they know how much you care, right?
Yeah.
And so little things, stopping and asking them about, and make it a point to stop and ask them about how they're doing. We all, when we have to struggle through adversities and situations in business, and we do it together. If we had a problem this morning right here around this table, and we all got together and worked at it, we'd come together a little closer around a common goal because we worked through a problem together and struggled through it. And life is that. Life is a struggle, and so if we can all pull together, we'll be closer and together. So take a minute to look and see where the opportunities are, where you can make sure Christ is in the center of that struggle while you're trying to solve the situation, and they'll see that opportunity and put Christ first in their lives.
That's cool. So you've touched on my next question, the fruits of your ministry. You've seen some tangible things. You've seen some some just culture changes, I imagine. Can elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, sure. So for one thing, you should get your priorities, in my opinion, straight. You're not doing it for what God's going to do for you. You're
Right.
not doing it for what God's going to do for your company. You're doing it because you want to be obedient to God, and thank Him for the blessings. I mean, every one of us. I just met some of you today for the first time ever, but I know that God's blessed you for a reason, and I believe you see that, and you're here today to honor Him because of that, and you honor Him through your business and how you manage it. So, but there are benefits for doing these things, and I'm not saying you should do them for the benefits
Right.
at all, but you do see people. Everybody wants to be you. sometimes I can't figure out why anybody would want to be like me. But it's true. You have admirers, right? And they want to be like you. There's something about you they see that they like, and they want to strive. So if you don't remember that someone's always watching you, and try to keep your head, and remember who you're representing, because they're holding you to a different standard. And so you've got to remember that. But once they see you doing things, they're going to emulate you some way, the best of their abilities. And we all grow. We're all growing in Christ every day.
It's a path. It's
It
a
is.
journey.
It is, and it will be for your company. But as people start to do that, and their focus is on the Lord, He will bless you. You can't. There's nothing you can do about it. He's going to do it. That's not once again. That's not why you should do it for the blessings, but He will do it. And then the trust and the, working with the different folks that they look after you as a person. It's not just about, like I said, it's not about the money you're going to make. It's about
Right.
the legacy you're leaving behind. There's many benefits.
Right. Well, my C12 chair, Steve Calhoun, likes to say, "You can't outgive God."
You can't do it.
And that's absolutely true. But I think there's no question that when you're living, we're always going to have challenges. No question about it. The business is no problems, no business, no problems, no problems, no business. But generally, everything I've seen, C12 members are blessed. We go through downsides, no question about it. But the faith that we're going to come out the other side, that it's going to be better, I think is big.
It is, and I think back. So when I came full time with the company back around 2000, there were 10 people working at the company, including myself, my brother, and my father. And at that time, there was no way we could look into the future and see where we'd be today. And I can't help but I know my talents, and I don't have any talents. Okay, but there's no question that God has blessed our company, and He has sent people to work with us for a reason. We don't have the same people working with us every year. We have a low turnover rate, but at the same time, over the last 20-some years, there's been a multitude of people that have come and gone.
Sure.
And have come back. And we still have a great reputation of looking after our people and loving God. People know that. And that's important. And I believe because we do that, I think the Lord continues to bless us and we continue to grow because He needs us representing Him out there.
Do you think that your ministry program, internally and externally, has helped you either keep people or attract people, bring you the right people, or help your people become better?
Well,
You've seen those kind of things?
We want the right folks choosing to be a part of our company. And so right in the beginning when we start interviewing for positions, we do tell them what we do so that they realize what our focus is. And if they can't or don't feel comfortable with that, there's no need to apply further.
Yeah.
And so that's important. And it does and has shaped our culture. We have hired people who just wanted to get on, but when they realized that they weren't driving with everyone, they either get right or they move on.
Right.
And that's important for the success of our business, for that culture piece.
Craig, when you're about to add on to your 1,100 people, do you, in the first interview, do you say you need to know we're a Christian company, that what do you say to those folks?
I've rarely interviewed them now.
Well, yes.
So it's other people who are doing that who are not necessarily believers.
Right.
And I'll say this: I don't believe in such thing as a Christian company. As individuals, we come to Christ. As a company, we don't come to
Oh,
Christ.
that's a good point.
And so what I always tell our people is that the ownership of the business, we talk about our purpose. And our purpose is to honor God in everything we do and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we realize you're coming with wherever you are. And we respect wherever you are. And there's no expectation from us as to who you are. We love you, whoever you are.
Right.
And so from the standpoint of them knowing that we are faith-based ownership and this is our expectation, I hope our people communicate that. And what I found is with our employee base, who are not all believers, they very much respect that and are very comfortable with that. The fact that there is not an expectation that you have to behave a certain way or anything, and that they'll just be loved and taken care of with whoever they are. So.
Yeah. So what kind of fruits have you seen as a result of your investment in ministry?
Well, there's no question we've seen God's blessing on the business for us to be able to grow as we have. I don't ever want to be presumptuous that the works we do generates the blessings that we get. I've seen C12 members that have gone through difficult times and not necessarily had the back end of the Job experience for them. It's been difficult times for them. So I never want to be presumptuous about that. What I would say is where have I seen a benefit? You know, for myself personally, I think it's peace with the Holy Spirit saying, yes, that's what I want you to do with the talent that you've been given. For our management team, that's probably where I see the most tangible difference is we have about 120 in our management team. And either believer or non-believer, I think they have a warmth and a confidence in who they work for and who we are. And the tangible benefit is we probably, out of that 120 people, lose less than 2% a year.
Wow.
So when that's the backbone of the company, 120 managers, and when they have that sort of staying power, I think it gives us tremendous leverage to grow. And I think it's a reflection of who we are as a company. For our employees, I know that the benefit is that we've been able to engage them not just with the gospel, but in crisis mode. And that's just such an important moment for people, whether they're going to lose their house or they're worried about the behavior of their child or their cancer in the family and things like that. And you take those burdens off.
Yeah.
Yes, we still have turnover. And
Sure.
at the employee level, and I would say, yeah, we're a little better than the averages and things like that. But you know, the benefits, like I said, to management, it's stability. To myself, it's confirmation that yes, this is what you know, how God wants to use the talents He's given me. And I think for the individuals, I know every year we're interfacing with them every day with the gospel, and for certain individuals at crisis moments.
Yeah. And I think it's valuable for your folks to know that they can count on you, that it doesn't matter where they came from. They found themselves in a certain situation, and you're there to help them out. And that's got to mean something long term for your business and for the people. So you guys have spent time loving on your people. I think we started with how did this get started, but I think you've covered that. So now let's talk about the tactical things, some of which you've talked about a little bit. But you know, day to day, you know, I mean, if you were going to make a bullet list of your ministry activities, things that you haven't talked about already, maybe that you know what are those things that you're doing? Yes, you're on the spot now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's my turn. You know, one of the things, yes, we talked about corporate chaplains, and so as a part of that, as we got our corporate chaplain, we started out with Bible studies, just quick little devotionals in the morning. Before that Tuesday morning meeting, we would have a quick little devotional, and that was headed up by our corporate chaplain. Well, we kind of got in a rough spot with corporate chaplains. He got ill. He couldn't attend to us. There was a time there we didn't have a corporate chaplain, and so I, because of C12, I really felt like we needed to get back to that devotional. So we started getting volunteers to do the devotional, and we started doing the devotional. Well, now we're doing the devotional every Tuesday morning, and the attendance is up. But just to give you a kind of a testimony of what's happened there, so we had a young individual attend. The restroom is right outside the little corner that we're having our devotional. So he comes in early that morning to go to the restroom. Now, everyone knows about the devotional. Everybody's been invited. And he overhears the devotional, so he just stands back in the back corner and listens to the devotional. Devotional's over. The next week, he's sitting in the devotional. He attends the devotional for 4 weeks in a row. So then he starts talking to the leader of the devotion. This kid was agnostic and wanted to learn more. By going through to these devotionals, now he's in a church. He's got 4 kids. He's taking them to Sunday school. And, you know, without C12, one, we never would have had the corporate chaplain, let alone would have thought that it was important to have the devotionals. And look at you talk about fruits. I mean, I don't know how you can any better than that.
Well, in my opinion, if that's the only thing that comes out of all of your 40 years of devotion and ministry,
Right.
you've won.
Yeah.
You know, because the kingdom's won.
And my nephew just shared me and talk about timing. You know, the Lord's timing. My nephew shared that with me yesterday.
How about that? So that's pretty cool. Any other testimony of fruit that you've seen? That,
Well, yeah.
you know,
The other thing is I joined C12 and I go to the first regional meeting they had up in Greensboro not long after joining C12, and they had it was an extension over the weekend. We were staying at the Grandover, a really nice place, and it was kind of like an abbreviated weekend to remember. So I took the bride up there, and so we get involved in the Weekend Remember deal. Well, you talking about just phenomenal, best thing we've ever done. We thought we had a good marriage, you know, and then we go to Weekend Remember to remember, and it's awesome now, you know, what we learned. So that made such an impact on me that now we sponsor and scholarship any coworker in our company every year to go to weekend, take his bride to Weekend to Remember.
Wow.
We'll find one close within driving distance. Normally they're in Raleigh, Greensboro, and we'll sponsor that. We put them up in the hotel. We provide them their meals for the weekend and the enrollment for the Weekend to Remember. So that's some fruits that's come out of my association with C12.
And obviously you're continuing to do that because you've gotten some feedback from your folks that say this is the best thing I've ever done.
Absolutely, yes. I've had more than one thank us for providing them that weekend and how it's the best thing that could ever happen to their marriage, and actually saved one for sure.
Well, there you go. That's a nice return on your investment.
So God is working.
Yep. Gary, what kind of fruits you see loving on people? You know, giving away all that love, that's got to be tiring. It's got to be expensive.
It is
now.
tiring. I think it's not one thing to just give it away. And remember that fruit comes from discipline and consistency. I tell my wife all the time, I've had a gym membership for 4 years. I haven't been. It's done nothing for me. I mean, it's not working. I've paid for it.
Yeah.
But because I'm not going and I'm not disciplined, then there is no fruit.
Right.
And so I try to push that upon my people. And if, you know, we all go to C12 because we're looking for somebody that's A, successful in business, or B, they have the ability to influence our ability to bring Christ into our business. We're looking for somebody that's been there, done that, seen that, has some education. I'm looking for somebody that's been in C12 for 15 years. I just joined. I feel like we got that responsibility at work too. Because I've not always walked the walk that I'm walking.
Right.
I started walking my walk in 2015 seriously because my son was coming to work at the company.
Yeah.
And I was asked to be a deacon inside my church. And I said, y'all have got the wrong guy. Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm here every Sunday, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm a construction worker. I talk construction. I act construction. I'm not the same person at work on a job site as I am in the office. I'm not that person at all when I go home because I'm trying to inflect onto my children a more positive nature. And that's whenever I said, okay, for me to produce change and have fruit, I got to fix myself.
Yeah.
So I figured out that people need more love than discipline. And I started giving them love and teaching them that if you love, 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 discipline can be received.
Right.
And so my fruits, I've seen hearts changed. We played a message in my office every day. I got a lifelong friend that's worked for me that sent me a link to a religious Christian show the other night to go see that. And that's not something, me and him grew up together. That's not something that would have happened 20 years ago. And so I see hearts changed, but I know that it's my responsibility to say, I was very broken. I'm still not fixed, but I was very broken. And I want you to look at how God's worked in me because I've been loyal to him. Because I'm saying, here I am, send me, let me do this, show me the way. What can I do for these individuals? And I'm seeing that daily with my people, giving people another chance, talking them through it, understanding that they're broken themselves. And so, I mean, I don't know how we can even count the fruit that's coming whenever you're walking with the Lord and doing what he's calling you to do. And I firmly, 100% believe he has called me here to give people an opportunity that other people may not give them, and to give them grace that other people may not give them, and to coach them through situations.
Yeah, because we all need a little help.
I need help. Everybody needs help.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know, Billy Graham said many years ago, I guess, that the next great move of Christianity in America was going to be in the workplace. And I'm paraphrasing that because I don't remember the exact quote. But I think that's one of the core principles of C12, that we believe that. And I don't know, it just occurred to me, how do you see that happening? I totally believe that is the case, because our employees spend more time with us than they do with their minister, or in the Bible, or praying, or any of that stuff. But it doesn't just happen because we are members of C12. And I love that you say we're not a Christian company. We are a company with Christian values and Christian leaders and Christian people. But obviously you have to do something for the word to be spread within your company, and for that great movement to happen that Billy Graham talked about. And I think that this is part of it. That having a proactive ministry with your people and your community is a part of it. Y'all, any comments, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, from a community standpoint, I'll use the term faith and work movement, which is thrown around a lot, and agree that the workplace is an incredible field of ministry opportunity. Perhaps one of the greatest. Back in Nazareth, everybody was around that 1 square mile, working, living. Your neighbors and your community were right there, but you spend your most time at work. And so in terms of what we're trying to do just outside of what we do through devotions and Bible studies and Life on Life, is we're working with the country's largest reform seminary, because what I found is in the faith and work movement through church, a lot of times the pastoral staff just doesn't get it. They're pastors. They're called to be pastors. And so the faith and work process ends up, let's read a book, a theology-based book on faith and work, which are fascinating. But they don't really get to, from a pastoral sense, what as a Christian and a believer in the workplace can I make a difference as either the owner of the business or a worker of the business. So working with RTS, the Reformed Theological Seminary, they were really struck by this, and we're working on something that creates a thread through the education process where these future ministers are actually engaging both from the theological sense of how God looks at work, pre-fall, post-fall, and then, post-redemption, but also from a standpoint of, with your congregation, what does a faith and work ministry look like? The other thing we're doing, our lead chaplain, our director of ministry, is getting his PhD from Aberdeen in Scotland, and he's focused on neurodiversity, faith and the neurodivergent. And if you think about it, and you put a 300-page book on faith and work in front of most people, they're not going to read it. And so if you think about the blue-collar community especially, what does a faith and work effective ministry look like? And in case of what he's working with is whether it be autism or low IQ, what does faith look like to those people who are struggling with things? So we're trying to do things outside of AGI, always saying that what God cares about is what are we doing for our 1,100 people, but well, what can we do beyond AGI? And that's where we focus.
Right, because your 1,100 people are 1,100 families reaching thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and that ripple effect can be dramatic. Luke, how do you see your ministry spilling over accidentally or intentionally into the community? Do you guys have any outreach?
We do. We minister. We've chosen the Kennedy Home in Kinston, children's home there to as our core ministry outside of our own company to give our employees an opportunity to minister and show or take the blessings we've been blessed with and give back. That's our core. And of course, we'll volunteer at a soup kitchen and for the veterans. We'll do fundraisers and many different things, like any opportunity we come across, and showing them how to live and do, because most of them are not going to church. And so who else is showing them how to be a Christian, how to act in community and be a community of Christian believers? And, so at work we show them you can be a Christian here at work. And if you can be a Christian here at work, you can be a Christian out in the community.
Yeah.
And that's very important because, like I said, churches are not getting the opportunity like they used to do that. When everybody was an agricultural base and you had your core farming atmosphere, you needed a place to go to work with others, and you had that church to do that. So obviously everything's gotten bigger, and we don't have that. Not everybody's a farmer anymore. There's not a case tractor on every shed now. So, but the workplace is a place that we can do that too, much like the churches were doing at one time. And obviously, we certainly are not going to take and don't need to take the place of a church, but we can still be an example and show our community how to do that.
Well, when you are an example and you get people involved in some form of outreach ministry, they can ultimately lead them to church because they find that there's joy in service. I grew up probably like you guys did. My dad said, "You're going to give back to the community. You're going to be involved. You're going to do things." And not everybody grew up like that. A lot of people grew up very self-centered and not understanding that you get back way more than you give when you do give. And so I think that just the opportunity you give people just to get out and do things and help their neighbor it can be powerful and so simple.
Certainly.
Doesn't cost you anything, just a little encouragement. Guys, we've got about 2 minutes left of our hour lunch and learn, so the time's really flown by. Anything you want to add quickly about your outbound ministry? That it goes out into the community. Anything particular you guys do?
The one thing I would add is, Paul, tells us that Jesus told the disciples to feed his sheep and take care of his flocks. So I think us as Christian business owners, C12 members, our responsibility is to feed our sheep, to take care of our flocks. And I think that trickles down to our people taking care of their families, taking care of the people that they interact with daily. And something that Luke said earlier today is, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that's the key that we need to, instill upon our coworkers.
Yeah, great. Gary?
I'll just echo what he's saying. I think that we don't, when I was in C12 2 years ago and I was doing my ministry matrix, it's like, how do we really affect the community?
Yeah.
But you realize that your individuals going out on these projects, pouring into Habitat for Humanity, soup kitchens, individual builds like that. But I don't think you realize the impact of I've made this person think differently, who's going to go home and transcend that over to his family. His family and those members may be involved in something, and we've affected a church growth, how they interact with others outside of our workplace. I don't think our total reach is greater than we can imagine. I don't think we need to discredit that. I think we need to be good stewards of what's given to us, lead by example, and be the light. And that light is going to continue
Yeah.
to transfer.
And you never know the impact that you're going to have. You never know how one act of kindness can lead to something dramatic, something big. Gentlemen, I really thank you for being here today. You've been so gracious with your time and your knowledge and that sharing with what your companies are doing. I'm encouraged, and I want to expand what we're doing in our company. So, Luke, thank you very much. Continued success. Craig, thanks so much for making the drive down to Rocky Mount. Danny, we got to meet at Dudley's in Dudley and have some Graddy's barbecue sometime. And Gary, I'll pick you up on the way because it's just down the street. Hey, thank you for joining us today. We hope you were encouraged and that you learned something valuable and learned that ministry is not magical or hard or expensive. In fact, it's extremely valuable and can be a major change, important change for your business. This is not the last Lunch and Learn on business ministry that C12 Mid-Atlantic will be doing. There will be more, and we hope you will share this with your employees and anyone else that you know. In fact, share it with everyone that you know. I thank you for your time today, and we thank Robert Beeman, Steve Calhoun, and all the C12 chairs for putting this together. And gentlemen, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.